PragICTS, expediting business outcomes.
Hello. On-premise or cloud? This is something that I want to discuss because I feel that this decision pertaining to, from enterprise viewpoint, whether what kind of strategy one needs to articulate between on-premise or cloud or a hybrid setup is sometimes, or I've seen not sometimes, I've seen a number of instances where this decision is glossed over. It is glossed over with this assumed knowledge that cloud is a replacement for on-premise infrastructure. And my personal take is that that's a very premature understanding of the whole scope. These are two distinct deployments and technologies that has its own scope of strength. And one needs to know the scope of strength of each of these contexts, whether on-premise or cloud. And especially know whether what is beyond the scope of strength. That is where the weaknesses are. And then map that to the kind of capabilities and applications that needs to be shifted. If not, it becomes a risk for the enterprise. There is no two words about it. In terms of making this decision, I look at two key aspects to it. Before I go through this, if you were to articulate this, what is on-premise and cloud is, in the simplest form, it's what infrastructure that you manage within your enterprise can be termed as on-premise. And what infrastructure that is, you procure through third-party cloud service providers for your enterprise can be termed as cloud over the internet. But these are two distinct capabilities. So the first thing to factor in is that what are the kind of services or applications or capabilities you're going to have on-premise, and what are the services, capabilities and applications you're going to take it to the cloud. Their careful thought needs to be looked at as to what capabilities you're going to keep it where. So, if it is a case that there are applications that is more enterprise related and has nothing much to do with the internet, and that those capabilities must be available, critically available, persistently available during the operational hours of an enterprise, then there is a case for serious consideration to put it on premise. Because the reason is that availability is important, and this functionality has nothing to do with the internet, and this can be effectively managed and executed in the enterprise. And you can have your failover strategies over it. Internet being non-available is not a showstopper. But if you go and put such applications on the internet, on the cloud, then when a failure happens, either a failure in the Indian internet or in the cloud service provider, then the question is, what is a failover and how are you going to make it available? So that's a clear distinction of what needs to be factored in. Cloud service providers, they publish what their platforms are to provide. Their capabilities, their assurances in terms of their availability. Usually most of these, entities, cloud service providers, they give 99.99% availability. That drills down to 2 hours of downtime over a year. And if you really look at what the kind of failures that we are hearing on the media, these failures do happen of some compromise. And there are instances where these facilities have taken weeks to recover. So if there is no failover strategy on this, you're hit. There is no two words about it. So the kind of capabilities, applications, whether you're going to put it on the on-premise or on the cloud, is dependent on the type of applications that you're dealing with. Email related or email as a service or email capacity. If you put it on the cloud, the failure of the internet is not an issue, because for you to have a effective email platform, internet capabilities is a core function that the email service provider needs. So if the internet is down, whether you deploy it on-premise or cloud, it's not going to make a difference. The second thing what you need to look at is that relates to the cost. Even this is, I feel that sometimes it's glossed over. On-premise infrastructure, it's procured upfront. You have to invest on the infrastructure. So let's say that you go and buy the best, the top tier hardware. Those comes with a certain assurance that you can be assured that they will run over a period of 7+ years. Cloud, on the other hand, comes on a rental model. So you need to bring it to the same level for you to make a comparison. So that means that if it comes on a monthly rental, you have to accumulate that over a period of 7 years and then compare the two costs to see what the difference is. And I can assure you that these differences are not minor, many times over on the cloud. So one needs to look at that also, because at the end of the day, it's the business that is, or the enterprise that is paying for its IT. So it is not a simple decision that let's go on to the cloud. It's not a simple decision. One should not take it as a simple decision either. And then also, if it is a case that you go on to a cloud infrastructure, usually the cloud service providers also promotes their services, which is which ties you up to their infrastructure. Later on, for some reason, if you're not happy with their services, you cannot move the application away, because the reason is that a lot of your applications are integrated to those services, and those services or those cloud stacks are not available on another provider. So there also you need to ensure that, irrespective of whether it is on-premise or cloud or whichever the cloud provider, your application stack needs to be deployment neutral, just to ensure that you have the total flexibility to decide where you want to put it when the change is required. When a situation dictates that you may want, why don't I bring it to on-premise? Cloud is too expensive. You can do that. This cloud providers is not meeting their standards and you want to move it to another, then you can make that decision too. So therefore, one needs to look at all these things to make an effective decision of how you are going to strategize your infrastructure over on-premise, cloud, or a mixture or a balance of both of these to have a very effective strategy. Thank you.
PragICTS, expediting business outcomes.